Good morning, students. Today's topic is web-based application development. As the name indicate, it's application development means we will create a web-based application. How we can create it, that is included in this chapter. It is the last topic of this chapter. First of all, if we know that web-based application is an application which is available on the web 24 into 7 online. Basically, a web-based application is a program that is stored on a remote server. It is online and delivered over the internet through a web browser interface. It can be a game, a quiz, or a bill calculator. While developing a project or a web-based application, we have to keep some things in our mind that are key characteristics of a project, which are as follow. First, a project has a beginning and an end date. Next is it requires finite resources. Is the that resources are available to us or not? We have to firstly check it out. Next is a project has a specific time frame. We have to cover within a limited time period. It is having a starting date and end dates. A project is completed when its end objectives are achieved. Basically, a project management is the process in which we will develop a web-based application by using different tools, skills, and techniques altogether. In the previous session, we have read about different web applications. Now, in this topic, we will basically learn that how we can develop a web application project. So there are different phases which we have to keep track while development. First is requirements definition phase, second is design phase, third is implementation phase, and fourth is testing phase. If we talk about requirement definite phase, in that case we have to check the clear figure of the problem. What the main problem is, this identify the scope of problem and various issues regarding this. And the first point is feasibility. Is the project is feasible or not? We have to check two types of feasibility. First is technical feasibility. In technical feasibility, we will talk about the our hardware and software requirements. What we are having, what software and hardware we are having, is these are enough for the new project? Are we are capable to use that particular hardware and software? And second is economical feasibility, means we have to check that is it profitable or not, or we are wasting our time. If the feasible, if it is feasible, then we will proceed further, otherwise there is no need to proceed with that particular project. Second, we will talk about the focus scope of the project. The focus on what the application must do, what is the functioning of application, or for which purpose we are making it. It should be clear. First, compile a detailed list with a clear description of application features. Second, establish the goals that the solution must achieve. And third, recognizing the limitation that are placed on the project. After going through the feasibility state, if the project is feasible, then we will come to the designing phase. In designing phase, we will talk about how can we create a particular web application. What will be the process, how will the mapping will be done. We will detailed description, we will get a detailed description in the designing phase. And the first point is a map of the web application site. What is the home first page, and how these all the pages are attached with each other, what are the relationships between the pages, we will go thoroughly study about in this phase. And second is database. Design the application database where we want to store the data. That is the database. First point, identify the database tables that will be required in the application, in which we will, where we have to store the data, and what will be the attributes, and what will be the columns of the database. We have to decide that. Second is decide the table structure. For each table, we need to identify the attributes of the tables, the data types, the size of the column in the table, the relationship between the tables. Next is page structure. How the page will look like. Design the structure of the page. Identify the main section of the page like header, main content, and slide bar. After designing, we have to implement it. While implementing the web application, we have to take uh, we have to keep track on two things. First is what is backend and what is the front end. In backend, when we will talk about backend, that is the where we have to store the data. It can be SQL or Access, whatever the backend we are using. In backend is the place where we have to store the data. And second is front end, at where we will get the input from the user. We have to keep track of this thing, that the user intervention is must be very low. User intervention must be very low, and it should be minimize the inputs by using radio buttons, checkbox, list, and combo box, etc. And third and main important point, that is the data connectivity. It should be connected with each and uh, connectivity between front end and back end. The properly input from the front end, if the user is giving, then it should be stored properly at the back end. Last part is testing phase. We have to test front end and back end with each and every input. If we find any bug, we have to fix them, solve that particular bugs, and again check each and every data and validations and the inputs. After final validations, the application is ready to release, and we will get the final output or web-based application. By the end of this topic, we are able to uh, learn about get about that what are the phases of web application development.